Hi everyone, I'm Steve Stoller.
And I'm Shauna Haley, and this is Inside Plano, where we take you behind the scenes of our city.
We'll introduce you to the faces and places who help make this a great place to live.
And give us lots of reasons to love Plano. Welcome to episode 50 of Inside Plano, the city's podcast. It's good to be back with you, Steve.
Hi, Shauna. It's a milestone, number 50.
I know. I cannot believe we've been doing the podcast this long. It's fabulous.
Wow. And that's 50 months, too,
That's
once a
right.
month.
That's
So
right.
that's quite a long time.
Absolutely. And I'm sure our loyal listeners are not at all surprised that we are running just a little bit late this month. We didn't release this on the 1st of March like we'd hoped because February was a little crazy. And why was it crazy, Steve?
Well, we had a double whammy. We had not one winter storm, but two winter storms.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I think when you compare it to last year and Winter Storm Uri, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Driving was kind of treacherous on that second storm. It was like a blanket of ice on everything. But fortunately, the first one wasn't too bad. And also fortunate is we got some warmer weather that melted things and dried it out pretty quickly. So in terms of winter storms, I think these were kind of low on the scale for being really bad.
Yeah, and I think it's also a good example of how the city continually learns from past experience. Every department was able to better prepare for the winter storms based on lessons that we learned during Winter Storm Uri. And a lot of things that happened during Uri were completely outside of our circle of control. We don't provide power, and the power was out. That was a significant impact. But ERCOT and our electrical providers, Encore, CoServe, they did a lot of staging in our area. So they were ready in case power went out. And we started earlier on the communications side, reminding people how to turn their water off and reminding them how to stay safe on the ice and to avoid traffic. So and of course, our public works teams, they had set up cots to stay so they could minimize travel back and forth. So everybody responded based on what we learned the year before. And I think overall, while it still was disruptive to have those two storms, it was not, A, the storms were less severe, but two, we also knew how to walk everybody through them a little better.
I think one of the biggest rewards for us here at the city is all the positive reinforcement and feedback that we receive from the community. We received a lot of comments pretty much saying job well done.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, it's always a team effort from so many different employees and departments across the city. And I think in this effort, it was a job well done. I think they're exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we didn't talk about this before the podcast, but we would note that the biggest impacts in the storm, it really wasn't the impact to the roads and the ice. We get those things in Texas every now and then, but it was the damage that was done to the trees. We saw a lot of trees come down and a lot of limbs come down. And it wasn't really so much because of this storm. That was damage from the storm in 2021. And those trees were weak. Those trees were dead. And you and I both have had guests on the podcast talking about the importance of addressing your trees, that there's hidden damage. I think our urban forester, Mark, told us that there are trees that are dead and don't know it. They're zombie trees. They kind of look like they're alive, but you need to go out and look at them, because if we have another storm like that, each one of these successive storms puts those trees at further risk, and tree limbs falling is a life and property hazard. So you want to make sure to take care of them.
It was interesting to me how different those two winter storms were. The first one, we had some heavy ice that stayed on the trees, which caused all those trees to come down and branches to break. The second one was kind of more like a glaze.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we didn't have many accidents first time around. In the second storm, we had a lot of traffic accidents, and we had a lot of people who were injured by slipping and falling on that sheet of ice. So really interesting. Two totally different types of winter storms within a very short time.
Absolutely. And we took some notes from that too. I think next time we have ice coming through, we'll be reminding people about the hazards of really what that was black ice. It looked like the ground was wet, but it was solid ice. And so people didn't take adequate precautions. And also, even if you did take precautions, it doesn't take a lot to fall when everything is iced over, including the grass. So we'll be thinking through how we can better educate folks on protecting themselves.
So, Shauna, my late mother used to always say, never look back, always move forward.
Yes.
So let's look forward.
Yes.
Let's talk
And
about some of the things we got coming up.
well, I have something very fun to talk about in terms of looking forward. And this is based on something from last year that did very well, the Taste of Plano Foodie Pass. That was an incredibly popular pass card last year. It's all mobile, it's based on your phone. Last year, it ran for 3 months and had a multiple restaurants and venues throughout Plano. This year, they have nearly 80 eateries, all different kinds of food. I actually downloaded it the other day and it looks fantastic. Some of my Plano favorites are on there. So, here's how it works. You sign up, you download it. It's not an app, it just takes you to, it's a quick short link to get to the web page. And then you kind of browse through. And when you're going out to eat, open that up and check in at that venue. If you get 10 check ins, you get a free t shirt. If you check in 20 times, you're entered into a drawing for a grand prize that's really amazing. And I'm just going to leave it there as a teaser because we'll put all the details in the show notes, including where you can download the Foodie Pass. And it's going to go for 7 months. So you have plenty of time to eat your way across Plano.
Very good. And Shauna, we have another big new event that's
What
coming to
is
downtown Plano for the very first time. We're calling it the Texas Forever Fest. We celebrate the food, art, and people of our great state of Texas. And at the Texas Forever Fest, which is sponsored by HEB, it's going to be a party as big as Texas, Haggard Park, Saturday, March 26th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Admission is free. It's open to all ages. You can enjoy live music, live Western entertainment, Texas favorite food and drink, Texas themed vendors, a Plano Rotary barbecue cook-off, and much more. We'll also have musical performances by Roger Krager, Hayden Haddock, the Tejas Brothers, Walt Wilkins, George Dunham with Pat Green, and Texas Flood, which is a Stevie Ray Vaughan tribute band. There will also be free activities and entertainment, including mechanical bull rides, trick roper demonstrations, a kid zone, a photo opportunity with Rowdy, the Dallas Cowboys mascot, and much more. It's going to be a great time and hopefully the first of many more Texas Forever Fests.
There were some pretty big names that you mentioned on the music scene. And I think you said at the beginning, this is a free event. I'm sure you have to pay for food as you go through, but that's incredible. There's some really great artists to go see.
Yeah. And
Ones that
Roger Krager, he's performed before at our Texas Music Series, and he's excellent. I mean, it's going to be a great time. Really
yeah,
excited about it.
I am too. And Pat Green is obviously a DFW area favorite, a Texas music favorite. So well done on a fun new event coming to Plano.
George Dunham is another familiar name. A lot of people are familiar with George. He's on the Tickets morning show, Dunham and Miller.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's also a talented musician.
Very talented. Yep.
Well, Steve, I thought that we would do something different today. Every month, we field hundreds of emails through our Ask Plano email account, and many of them are coming from listeners of this podcast. And so I thought today it might be interesting because you ask these folks are asking really good questions. So we thought we would crack open the Ask Plano mailbag and go through some of the common questions and answers, and just provide answers here on the show instead of having to refer back to just that one individual getting their question answered. What do you say? Why don't we go through some?
Let's do it. I think that's a great idea. You take the first one.
Okay. So the question that came in, it's about a recent event. We did book sales. So they said, I have bags of books to donate, and I'm wondering if any libraries accept donations.
Well, that is really interesting. You can learn more about how to donate books by going to the website. It's plano.gov. It's kind of a long one, so bear with me here.
Or
It's
we can put it in the show notes if you want to. If
Let's
it's
do
too much.
that. Let's do that. So due to construction, Davis and Harrington libraries are not accepting material donations at this time. But if you go to our website for Plano Public Libraries, it'll give you all the information you need to answer those questions.
Yep, and those books then end up getting sold, and those funds help through Friends of Plano Public Library that helps our library do different programming. So it's a nice circular thing. I dropped off a bunch of books after cleaning out my in-laws' house, so it's a great way to be sustainable.
Shauna, a lot of us have heard about this particular thing we're going to ask next, but many people don't know exactly what it is. So settle the debate once and for all. What is Texas Pure Products?
Sure. Texas Pure products are compost, potting mix, soil, and mulch. And Steve, what's amazing about it is that it's actually a recycled item, so to speak, from yard trimmings that are picked up from homes in Plano, McKinney, Allen, and Richardson. I think I got all of them, 5 cities all together. And you can buy those products at many retail locations in our area. You can also pick them up at the Custer Road transfer station. And that one's kind of nice because you can just drive up and buy it at the gate and they'll load it in your car. And we'll put a link in the show notes so that people can do their shopping online or get an idea of what they want. There's a handy calculator for you to figure out how much you need for your yard work.
And just so they know, the Custer Road transfer station
Mhm.
is located at Custer Road and Ridgeview Drive.
Correct. Near the Ridgeview Ranch golf course. So that's a good little mile marker for you. Here's one that we've gotten many, many questions about. I feel like we get this question every week. My trash can, or you could fill in the blank, my recycling cart is broken. Can I get a new one?
That's a good one. And this actually happened to me recently. So
Mhm.
I know the answer. And the answer is, of course, yes. All you have to do is contact our environmental waste services team and request a new cart. You can do it by email. Just email EWS customer service at plano.gov, or you can call them at 972 769 4150, and they'll get you a new cart.
Very good.
Another question. Please advise when we'll connect the newish trail that ends in a tunnel under Los Rios with the Oak Point system. It's only about 100 yards. Shauna, what's the answer to that one?
Yeah, the Oak Point and Cottonwood Creek Greenbelt Trail connection is wrapped up final design. And the project also had a flood study approval process that has to be completed before construction. So that's why that project took a little longer. And we think that construction should begin later in the spring.
Great.
All right. Well, this seems to be a popular question that pops up on Nextdoor too. How can I report a loose dog, particularly if I'm not able to catch the dog?
Well, this is an easy one. All you have to do is give our animal services department a call. Their phone number is 972 769 4360. I'll give that number one more time. Animal services 972 769 4360.
All right.
Okay, next question. This resident writes, I'm not sure who to reach out to related to property complaints with my apartment property manager for not completing work requested to stop my apartment and patio from flooding when it rains hard. Any help is appreciated. Shauna, what's the advice?
Yes. So there are two things you can do. So, first, and probably the easiest thing that you can do is report this through Fixit Plano. You can do that through a text message. You can do that on the web. We have a Fixit page. You can download the app and do it through the app. And that request is then routed to the correct department to help you. Now, if you want to go straight to the department, you can contact Neighborhood Services. Within that team is the Property Standards team, and they have specialists that are assigned to work with multifamily communities. And so they'll be happy to talk to you and work through it as best as they can on their side as well. So that's Neighborhood Services, the Property Standards Division, or even easier, just send it through Fixit Plano. So this was a really interesting question, and it took us a little while to dig the answer out, but our engineering team knew who cleans up the debris and the litter that's along 75, Highway 75 that runs through Plano.
So, Shauna, US 75 is a highway that's maintained by the Texas Department of Transportation, also known as TxDOT, and not the city of Plano. And they do regular litter sweeps on that highway.
Very
Next
good.
question. How can I get a map of all the parks and trails in Plano?
Well, you can find it all online, of course, because everything's online. You can look at the individual trails, you can look at the individual parks, or you can download a PDF version of our park and trail map. Or if you like a hard copy map, you can pick up a copy here at the Municipal Center or at any of our Plano Parks recreation facilities. They keep copies of those maps there. So this comes up a lot, particularly during the holidays, but it also comes up around birthday time. Can wrapping paper that doesn't have glitter or metallic accents be recycled?
Well, you can recycle wrapping paper, but without glitter or metallic accents. Glossy finished paper can be recycled as long as it tears easily. If it's hard to tear, what that usually means is that it has a plastic coating and is not recyclable.
Very
Here's the one that's interesting. Can I ride my dirt bike in an open park field?
Yes. So, this particular question that came in actually had a photo of the dirt bike, and so we can't show that here. But it was a motorized dirt bike, so it was more like an off-roading vehicle. So the answer to this, Steve, is no. Motorized vehicles aren't allowed on parkland, and really that's because it tears up the park. It might feel like, oh, it's not doing a lot of damage, but we have a responsibility as a city to make sure that the parks are maintained for everyone to use and enjoy. So we want to make sure that those stay clean and free of ruts and all kinds of problems. So no motorized vehicles in the park. All right. Now, Steve, gotten this question quite a bit lately from individuals who want to know, can they still sign up for a listening tour session?
Well, unfortunately, no. The listening tour was scheduled for the month of February only. The tour offered 21 sessions at varying times and locations throughout the city. Everyone's feedback is being summarized into a report for our city council and city leadership, and that report will be shared with the community. Another question. When are the rest of the streets going to be overlaid with asphalt?
Steve, do you remember early in the days when we were asked, why are you putting asphalt on the street? And now it's changed to, this asphalt is wonderful. When are we going to put it? So it's proven to be a very popular and effective tool, right? So the answer to that, many of you may remember voting in the bond election in last May that approved $100 million for concrete repair and overlay of major streets. Now, here's what's interesting. A typical project that involves both concrete repair and overlay costs about $2 million per mile. So that means that $100 million will allow us to cover about 50 miles within the city of Plano. And that's about 25% of our major roadway network. And we could refer people back to an old stoller on the street because you explained that the concrete is repaired and restored and then they overlaid, and the overlay protects all of that work of the concrete. So that's why you have to do both. You can't do one without the other. So future roads that are intended to have that asphalt overlay, Coit Road from Parker to 121, Legacy from Custer to Highway 75, Plano Parkway from Preston going west to Park, and Hedgecoats from Custer to Legacy. All right, one more question and then we'll shut the mailbox for the time being. Someone told me that it's illegal to have a clothesline in Plano. Can you tell me if there's a citywide ordinance that bans clotheslines?
Absolutely. There are no city codes or ordinances that would prevent the use of a clothesline in Plano. But beware that if you do live in a neighborhood with an HOA, there may be an HOA covenant or restriction or rule that applies to clotheslines. So check your HOA if you have one.
Well, a reminder to everybody that if you have questions or you have suggestions for upcoming episodes, you can always drop us an email at askplano@plano.gov. That's where all of these questions came from, and we love to seek out the information for you.
So, Sean, I want to share with you a new tool that we have that I think a lot of our residents will be interested in. It's a zoning alert tool. Have you heard about it?
I have heard about it and I've signed up for it.
So, you can now sign up to receive alerts from the city of Plano when a zoning change is requested in your area. All you have to do is just put your name and email at this one website we have set up and choose the Plano zip codes where you want to receive zoning alerts. Sign up to receive these alerts at share.plano.gov/zoning-case-alert. I'll read it one more time. share.plano.gov/zoning-case-alert. Zoning case alert emails are sent up to twice a month if a new zoning case is submitted in the zip code that you signed up to receive alerts. You'll get alerts for as many zip codes as you want. The emails include the case number, a brief description, the location, the expected planning and zoning commission date, the expected city council meeting date, and we'll talk more about this and other zoning items in next month's podcast.
Yeah, I really encourage people to sign up for it. I'm super nosy, so I signed up for every zip code in Plano because I just always want to know what's going on. Well, hey, the ice storms in February really were a bummer because they impacted our planned first town hall of 2020. We weren't able to hold it, so we rescheduled it. It's later this month, Thursday, March 17th. The topic is public safety. It'll be great. We have all of our public safety leaders. So Fire Chief Curis Biggerstaff, Police Chief Ed Drain, Director of Emergency Management Carrie Little, Director of Public Safety Communications Susan Carr, and Director of Animal Services Jamie Cantrell. They'll be on the dais available to answer your questions. So we hope you participate. That's from 7 to 8 p.m. on March 17th. Steve, any final words for our loyal fans and listeners?
We're almost to spring. Just a few more weeks and we'll be there.
That's true. And we've been enjoying the warm weather. Maybe that's another reason why this podcast was a little delayed, but we do love all of you Inside Plano listeners, and we encourage you to give us a like or a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps other people find our show. Until next time, we'll be listening to your questions on the Ask Plano line, and we'll be right here waiting to answer them next month. Talk to you later.
Bye, everybody.
And that's it for our Inside Plano. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did doing it.
If you have any comments or suggestions, send them to us at askplano@plano.gov. Bye.
Talk to you next month. The Inside Plano podcast is brought to you by the City of Plano.